Hi, I'm Donny Nguyen, and I am today's guest. And today we're going to be talking about systems and processes, my favorite topic with Brian.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owners Association, where real estate investors have found success since 1968. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group. This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 539. Most investors blame the market. Very few examine their management. Vacancy, delinquency, and maintenance creep rarely start with the economy. They start with weak systems, poor tracking, and inconsistent execution. My guest today is Donny Nguyen, a real estate investor, business strategist, and founder of VanderWynn Property Management. With a background in corporate strategy, supply chain, and business systems, he builds efficient, system-driven property operations that maximize owner profitability and tenant experience. He also serves on the RPOA Annual Conference Committee. And as this episode airs, we just wrapped another successful conference that he helped plan. Donny works with rental property owners who want their properties to function like real assets, not side hustles, by building systems that drive cash flow, consistency, and long-term portfolio growth. Donny, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, I was just a regular corporate W-2 worker, and I had an opportunity to go through and learn a bunch of different skills and functions as I was going through corporate. So I started off working as an internal consultant for a big corporation in town. And throughout that time, I became a project manager, worked through engineering, in a couple of different leadership positions, and realized I had a real knack for understanding how things work together. And then it eventually led to me growing my investment portfolio the traditional way through 401k. And I thought, you know what, it's time to really get into other things outside of index funds and the 401k and the stock market. So I started real estate investing. And that's where the journey really started for me. Is I bought my first rental property. I had it managed. I didn't really have a good experience with the management company, so I started self-managing. Then I got more rental properties, and then other folks started asking me to manage their properties. So I decided to get my real estate license and go about the route of starting my own management company. So fast forward, here I am. I'm out of my W-2 and I own several businesses, including the property management company.
Talk about your kind of getting into real estate. What was it about real estate that aligned with your love of systems and processes?
I think what the big driver was is diversification. So much of my portfolio was in the stock market. And I think the natural adjacent space afterwards to grow your portfolio is the real estate space. And I did look into REITs and other ways to invest, but I understood homes, and I was a big fan of Barbara Cochran. She's on Shark Tank. And the way that she talked about real estate just made me excited because she just loves the assets. So I started studying it and realized that it was right for me. And what I really like about real estate, it's a long-term play. And that's just my style. So I build things to last a while. And if we're looking out 5, 10, 15 years, that's really, I'm looking at longer horizons. And the way that I structure my portfolio really meets the way that I like to see things, which is long-term.
When you say you look at kind of the long-term perspective of your real estate investing, what does that mean? I mean, what exactly do you do to take that into account from the start?
It helps me manage risk. So when I'm thinking long-term, basically, it's not necessarily always about time, but basically how many good and bad cycles am I going to have to go through? And is the thing that I'm investing in, can it protect against those cycles? So in real estate, I think that everyone has seen the boom and bust cycle. And within those larger cycles, there are micro cycles that happen: good days, bad days, good weeks, bad weeks, and good seasons. And what I like about real estate is it's long term. So when you invest in something, you can ride out a cycle if you plan ahead and if you invest in the right asset. And so for me, I'm not good at short term cycles. I'm not a day trader. It just really fits my style.
Get specific. I mean, what is the right asset for you, and what does it mean to position that asset so that you can ride out those cycles, and be specific?
I'm what I call a very boring traditional real estate investor. So I'm in residential real estate, and I'm good with either small multiplexes, 4 units and less, or single unit homes. And I like to invest in areas where I can understand. So downtown Grand Rapids, I understand the market pretty well. I understand the zoning. I understand exactly how decisions are made within local government. So when I'm talking about investing, I don't have to worry about rules, laws, regulations, and I understand the market itself. So I know what type of tenants are going to come in. And I understand how my assets are going to appreciate because I've seen this trend over time. So again, very boring. I have 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes. I know that each bedroom is going to get me X number of dollars in rent. I know the types of tenants that are going to come in. And I know when my cycles will be long for vacancies and when they should turn over pretty quickly.
You kind of have that data, and you have those as benchmarks. And when you started, you hired a third-party management company, but right away you kind of realized, okay, they weren't really running it the way you would run it. So what did you notice that they were not doing that you wanted them to do? And then once you took over, what was it you started doing?
It started really simple, Brian. I got a phone call from one of the tenants, which I don't know how they got my phone number, but they did. And it was a very kind phone call. They just said, hey, I'm really getting a lot of disrespect from the property manager. And I was asking them some questions of basically the property management company and them, for some reason, they weren't seeing eye to eye on a water payment. And so they had accused the tenants of not paying. And what had really happened was the tenants just didn't receive the notice, and it really wasn't a big deal. And they called me because they wanted to pay and they just didn't know how to. So we had a conversation. That's when I realized the real gap is that the tenant / property management relationship, or the tenant owner relationship, it's a strained relationship. And unfortunately, they're seen as adversaries. So tenants will see landlords or rental property owners or property management companies as adversaries. And so my question is why does that have to exist? Why can't we just figure it out? We can't make everyone happy, but there can be a level of respect and understanding. And the tenants shouldn't have a hard time paying a water bill if they want to pay it.
The management company at the time, what was their position? Why were they treating the tenant in such a way that they felt disrespected?
Yeah, after speaking to the management company, I think they have seen tenants as like the tenants. It's a way to bring in income instead of seeing them as people. And I wonder if it's just something that happens over time. So I don't know if it's the management company itself, but just management companies in general, or management in general. Over time, I think that folks realize that managing rentals and managing the tenants can be difficult. We're not meeting people on their best day, and the tenants really only call you when there's a challenge. They don't call you to have coffee or talk about what's good in their life. So that can wear people down. I think that's what happened here was the folks got worn down. And over time, I've noticed that once you're in the industry for a while, you can become a little hardened. And the question is why do we have to get hardened? Why does a tenant have to be treated that way? And why do we have to grow calluses? So that's what I'm trying to do, is create something different where we can have a great relationship with the tenants, get them what they need. And we don't have to be a big part of their life, but our few interactions that we have don't have to be contentious.
Let's talk about, that point at which you took over management of your properties and started building your own systems. What were some of the initial systems that you realized, okay, I have to put these in place if I'm going to be successful?
The first one was a communication system. So a lot of folks don't realize that in property management, there's a lot of software and there's a lot of innovation. And a lot of it has to do with creating 3 major work streams. So as a third-party manager, you have an operations work stream, which is going to be more for maintenance. You'll have a tenant acquisition work stream. And then you'll have an owner acquisition work stream. So that's basically your sales arm trying to get new owners. And so the tenant acquisition work stream starts from the moment you put a listing on the market for that unit up until when the tenant vacates the unit. And so it's a long cycle. And that would include other sub work streams such as communication, managing maintenance, managing rent, customer complaints. So the big question I had was, how is the tenant going to get a hold of me? How are they going to contact me? Because that was the initial problem I was trying to solve. And it just so happened that the tenants were using the phone. So the first thing we put in place was a text messaging system and a chat system. So they can use an app and they can use their phone, but no matter what time of day, they can put in a request or reach us at any time. We may not respond right away, but that's the one place they go to, so they don't have to wonder who to contact.
What does it look like on your end of that text? Is it just Donnie answering all the texts, or do you have then a team that it goes out to and you can direct it, or it's automatically directed to where it needs to go?
It's a combination of all of it. So we can automatically direct it to certain team members depending on the time of the day. And basically the tenant will have just one phone number and they can text it, and it will go and it will route to the right person. And then we have a system that tags what the request is. It's either going to be maintenance, a general question, or something else. Most of the time it's general maintenance. And so we will put that into the maintenance work stream and then work the ticket once we get the information. But basically the first order is to understand what does the tenant need, and then which work stream does that information go through.
Who decides that? Is it automatically decided, or do you have to decide, or do you have like a team that makes that decision?
Right now we're trying to train our AI. So right now we're making that decision to train our future software platform, but AI will eventually determine that, because when you have a question coming in from the resident or the tenant, there'll be some keywords. It'll be broken pipes or damage, and those will automatically route it. And in this space, we are getting a lot of AI software platforms that are getting really good at creating tickets for us.
The first thing I'm curious about is, what is your PMS, your property management software or system that you're using? And does it automatically integrate AI, or do you have to go outside of it to start integrating AI?
What I'm using is DoorLoop. So it's the third largest platform. It's not as popular, but it's growing in popularity. And they are developing AI integrations. So basically every month something's new. And I was going to integrate different third-party AI because there's some great software out there. But the challenge is that I would have DoorLoop, and then I would have to use something like Zapier to connect it to the third party, and then train Zapier, and then put everything together, and then create this whole ecosystem of software, which again is now a subsystem of a bunch of different software trying to do something as simple as creating a ticket. So right now we are waiting for the software to catch up, which quite frankly will be just a matter of months before the software will do exactly what we want it to do within DoorLoop. But until then, right now, we're training our systems, creating the SOPs, and writing out all the clear processes and procedures as if that software were already there.
Oh, so once they integrate the AI will just look at your SOPs and be able to just jump in as if it were an employee of yours.
Yes. And right now, for example, DoorLoop, when I started, it was just a really simple rent management, and the prospecting wasn't very good. But over the last couple of months, they have added some great AI features that we can create workflows. So it's not just bringing in this information. I can direct it and exactly tell it what to do once certain types of information comes in. And it can tag things that are prospects. Like if someone is looking at a vacant unit, I can see if it's a prospect or if it's a tenant that's currently there. So it's getting better and better.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at RCBAssociatesLLC.com. So you talked about the three types of communications you get. You got the operational, like a work order, then you have the tenant prospects, and then you have the sales, which would be to bring in new clients. And we're not here to promote Door Loop, but that happens to be what you're using. Does that have all three of those flows and channels that are part of that system?
Right now, it's really great at the tenant acquisition. So that's the piece that's getting better and better. And then daily management, so maintenance and operations, it does really well. It's not complete, so I can't bill or do things directly from Door Loop. If it can handle it, but there are just better things for like bookkeeping, for example. We do bookkeeping outside of the software.
What do you use for bookkeeping, like QuickBooks?
QuickBooks, yes.
Are you saying that you can't collect rents through Door Loop? You have to do that through QuickBooks?
We can collect rent through Door Loop. We use QuickBooks because I can tag better. So the transaction, Door Loop does really well at collecting rent. But what I want to do is what makes this a little bit different than another property management company is I care about the bookkeeping. So my aim is to give the owners really good statements. And so Door Loop isn't the best at categorizing things, getting it ready for tax season. So we do things in QuickBooks so the owners have really clean statements because we'll manage water bills and those types of expenses. So we want to make sure the owners have clean statements when they get them.
Depending on how many properties you're managing, there can be a deluge of bills coming in at any given time. So how do you stay on top of that? How do you stay on top of the bookkeeping part?
The bookkeeping is one where I'm trying to create better systems. So that's the next piece that we have. So the first system we really nailed down was the tenant system. So collecting rent, making sure that everything gets put in place. Right now, we are building out the owner experience. So bookkeeping is done very traditionally. So I'm running the bookkeeping side as a bookkeeping company. So one of my businesses is bookkeeping, and it's not fully automated yet because it's not designed to be. I'm going through every transaction, making sure that the transactions come in through the software and get tagged correctly. And there is some AI happening in the bookkeeping space, but I'm not ready to trust it yet. I want to make sure my owners have clean books. And that's where I'm really worried about making a mistake.
AI being introduced into the space, I can understand why you're hesitant to be using it right now. But how do you see AI fitting into the bookkeeping part in the future?
It's already doing it. It tries to categorize today. So if you see, it's been trying to do this for years. If you go into your bank statements and you're pulling in things like from your Amex, it'll try to categorize your transactions for you by looking at the store and other ways of categorizing. But that's probably the biggest opportunity is categorization. And then what we want to look at, if I were to look into the future, it would be more than just bookkeeping because categorization is actually, to me, quite simple and it should do that. But what I want to do is get insights. Because if I'm seeing, for example, if a bill comes due and we're paying it consistently 7 days afterwards, that tells me some type of information. That tells me that a bill should be paid 7 days afterwards. So you should have money on hand the last 7 days, for example. But if you are seeing data that's all over the place, bills are getting paid.
Donny, we just had a small technical issue and you froze up there, but let's back up and just tell us about AI and how, it's categorizing, but you want to take it to a level deeper where you're looking at, okay, how often is it paying the bills? And are you paying within 7 days or is it all over the map? So if you don't mind, pick it up from there.
What's really interesting is what you want are insights from AI. So where AI is going to help there is to actually get me the insights faster. So today, if I'm getting in the weeds on data, I can pull flat data and I can do an analysis on that data. I can run regression models and look at trends, but that might take me an hour, might take me 2 hours. And where AI is going to be helpful is we can train it just to give us insight into the team. And that's where I see a lot of opportunities. If I know what I'm looking for, I can train the model. The model will just tell me versus me spending my time collecting, organizing, cleaning the data, and then getting the insight. So I'll be able to jump to insight much quicker. And it can tell me things such as, are my tenants paying on time? Are they typically paying 7 to 8 days late? A lot of different types of data where once you get it, then you can see what insight comes out of it. For example, if I have a tenant that consistently pays their rent 7 days late and it's consistent, my question is that a problem? I don't think so, because now I know it's predictable that this person's paying 7 days late versus where someone's paying 1 day late, next time it's 14 days late. that tells me there's a little bit more of an issue that I have to worry about.
Where else are you leveraging AI right now to improve your systems and be specific about that?
Yeah, right now it really is on intake. So there's a lot of output that people can get from AI. I'm more worried about intake. So when you talk about a system, a lot of folks can get a benefit if they focus on clean inputs, which means that you have a lot of stuff coming in. You have messages coming in, phone calls, emails. And typically, this is where folks will start investing in VAs and hiring labor. And that labor is really just to organize everything so I, as a user of that information, can look at it and make some type of action. So right now, what I'm trying to do is use AI to organize the incoming information so my brain can focus on critical thinking, whereas AI can focus on the tactical organizational work.
What are some of the other channels, flows, systems that you look at? I mean, we've kind of talked about the tenant side. How are they paying rent? What's their pace at which they pay the rent? Some of the bookkeeping, but what are some of the other systems that you have to consider in your day-to-day?
The most exciting one to me might not be exciting to everyone else, but I love the maintenance system. So my background is in project management. So having a ticket come through and seeing a ticket move from phase one all the way to the end and getting resolved, that's actually a big opportunity. If you think about what happens is, let's just say you have a pipe that's burst. So you have to be aware that there's a problem. You have to be able to diagnose the problem, and then get the right maintenance professional out there to fix it and then resolve it. Sounds pretty simple, but there's a lot of back and forth, calling the tenants, making sure that the time is right, figuring out where the maintenance person is in their day, making sure they show up at the right time, making sure they have the right tools and parts to fix it, and then making sure that the ticket's closed, and then we bill. So within that space, there's a lot of opportunity to work with different software. And to me, that's the most exciting space because I like to answer the question, where are we? And that's the one thing that most people want to know is what's the status? Where are we with that? And most of the time, if you were to ask, you're like, I don't know. I mean, let me call my tech, see where they're at today, see how many tickets they've completed. But that simple question creates this whole opportunity of software. And for me, the fun part is the operational side of the business that I think has a lot of potential.
So how do you track it then? Does your maintenance tech have an app where they enter, where they are in the process, or like how do you keep track of it?
What's nice is the software platform that we use, the tech can basically answer three questions. It's either not started, it's in process, or it's complete. Those are basically your three major frameworks in a project. But within in process, I can see where they're at. They will just update the app. So the app will get the information, but I'm collecting all the information and putting it on a dashboard. So I'll be able to look at a big screen and see there are 9 different technicians that are out there. These are all the tickets that are open. I should expect 2 tickets to close today. 4 of them are delayed, and I have 9 coming at me tomorrow. So I already know if I have a problem or not because I'm already seeing that I have 9 coming at me tomorrow. But with the 4 tickets are delayed, I just don't have enough people to take care of those tickets. So I'm in trouble. And that's the type of information you want to get from your dashboard.
And is that dashboard all part of your PMS already, or do you have a separate dashboard for that type of operational repairs and maintenance?
Right now, we have a separate dashboard where I'm playing with a lot of different software, but basically we're looking at, they're called cards. There are different free versions that you can have, but it's essentially, you're looking at a project style and phases. You can drag these cards and say, you know what, this ticket is complete, I can move it. Think about it as virtual Post-it notes and a whiteboard. You're moving a Post-it note from one phase to another.
Are you using like Trello or Asana, or what are you using for that?
Trello, yes. That's the one. Trello is the first one I ever used. And basically they're all similar. There's some gaps to it. I think there's some features that could add, but Trello is the one that we've been using.
What other internal software do you use or apps?
Trello is the main one. And then right now, because our door loop software has gotten better, we're actually moving more into door loop. So it's door loop and Trello at the moment.
What about AI? What do you lean on for AI?
Right now, what we're using is whatever's available within door loop. So we have been looking outside. There are great softwares that are out there that I can integrate in a door loop. The philosophy that we're trying to live by is keep things simple. So I could have a tech stack that's probably 4 or 5 different solutions, but I'm really trying to live by the few tools that I have. So the fewer tools, the better. So it's door loop and Trello. And my aim is to move only to one thing. So whoever comes out with the one-stop shop, I'm going to pay for it.
So you would change your PMS at some point when Stop Shop comes out, huh?
Absolutely. And that's where I think the opportunity is in technology. So we talk about AI, but I'm not sure what the future will bring, but there's always going to be some type of a technological solution. And oftentimes we get excited about one solution and then we build our entire ecosystem, the way that we do business, our entire business around this software that we're now beholden to. And I like to work a little bit differently. I build out what I want first, and I wait for the software to catch up. So if the software doesn't do it, I'm not going to buy it. I'll do it manually until the software will do exactly what I want it to do because I don't want to get stuck.
How do you know when to actually pull the trigger and go and just pick a software or an app?
The main one is going to be about regulation and about compliance. So if it helps me in compliance or regulation, I'll jump on that software pretty quickly. In property management, we're a fiduciary to our owners. And if there's something that can help protect me legally or help protect the owners legally or from a regulation standpoint, I'll jump on it right away. So that's the first thing. But my philosophy on technology is a little bit different. I'm very much an early adopter if it's exactly what I want. So a lot of times we think that the software is going to solve a solution, but what it does is it creates more problems. And so most companies I work with, I'm also a business consultant. And with my customers, they'll often invest in some type of a software package. And instead of having one person do something slowly, they buy a piece of software. And now they have three people that have to manage the software because one person doesn't understand it. Now they have what they've done is they've essentially increased their overhead because of the software. And so the philosophy is if you can do it manually, but slowly and correctly, the software should help you move through something faster. It's not going to solve the problem. It should help you with speed and iteration. So if you're buying the software to help solve a problem that you don't understand, you're going to create more problems.
Donny, tell our viewers and our listeners how they can find out more about you or get a hold of you. And feel free to plug your business and anything else you'd like to.
If they want to get a hold of me, all my socials, it's Advisor Donny, ADVISOR DONNY. And that's for all the typical socials. And if they want to get a hold of me, it's Donny@VanderWynn.com. And you'll typically see that I post a lot about systems and processes in business. And it's beyond property management. I love talking about how to build businesses. And I focus a lot on family businesses. So if you're a business owner and you have your sales are outstripping your capacity, those are the types of people I love working with. And that's the type of content I try to help is to make sure your operations are actually keeping up with your demand.
What is your favorite, your hack, AI, or app?
This sounds really old-fashioned. I love Excel. And what's great, though, is using ChatGPT and Excel. So Excel is a really complicated software. And because my background's in finance, I love using Excel. But sometimes before ChatGPT came out, it took me a really long time to figure out certain formulas. So I am using ChatGPT and Excel. And those are my two favorites. So sounds kind of boring, Brian, but those are the two.
So Donny, one last thing before we go. You are also on the RPOA conference committee, and we're just coming off a very successful 2026 Midwest REI conference, and you were a big part of it. So I just very briefly talk about being on the committee and why you think it's important to be involved with the RPOA.
For me, being a part of the RPOA actually helped me become a better investor. So when I started, I was pretty green and I started attending the networking events, but it wasn't until I started getting involved in the RPOA that I realized there's an abundance of knowledge out there. And you'd be surprised sitting with someone during a conference meeting and all of a sudden having a 10-minute chat about the latest investments or opportunities that are out there. It has been really fulfilling for me as far as getting to know folks, but also from the education side. Not everyone's wearing a sticker saying, I know this and this is what I'm an expert at. It really takes conversations, collaboration, and really deep understanding of the market. And the more that you volunteer, the more that you work with other folks, the more that you keep other investors around you, the better you become as an investor. So I would encourage anyone out there, if you have any type of skills or type of enthusiasm for investing and you have a little time, I would definitely recommend volunteering the RPOA.
Thank you for being on the podcast today. I really enjoyed talking systems and processes with you, getting granular about the software that you're using or the AI that you're using. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure, Brian. Thanks for having me.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.